Americans are already revolting and defaulting. Cities and states facing a $1 trillion budget mess. The U.S. trade deficit surges 11.7% in July. We just got the largest drop in quarterly U.S. GDP ever in history. The U.S. economy contracted 31.7% in Q2. We have printed so far 13% of our GDP just this year to pay for the pandemic and lockdowns. Millions of SMEs are already near or in bankruptcy. Larger corporations soon to follow. But it's a totally different world in Wall Street. Job losses surpass 200,000 at global firms, with more to come. Furloughs turning into permanent cuts. Global corporations have announced more than 200,000 job cuts or buyouts in recent weeks. MGM Resorts International, Coca-Cola and Boeing were the latest examples on Friday, joining an increasing number of companies that are trimming their workforce. MGM Resorts lays off 18,000 previously furloughed employees. The airline industry is threatening to cut tens of thousands of more jobs if they do not get another bailout. This would be their second bailout. United Airlines cuts another 3,000 jobs, and guess what? Windfall bonuses for executives, stock buybacks to inflate stock prices, and thus, the Super V that should be Kudlow's new nickname, the Super V. It's going to take more government money. The problem is they're putting the money in the wrong hands, just like in 2009. Let's just bail out the billion-dollar firms and destroy the small businesses. Wall Street looks great. Main Street looks horrible. Amazing what printing $3 trillion can do. Crises make the rich richer and drive the middle class into poverty. The middle class loses their jobs and access to credit. The rich have the financial tools to save them. In just last week, the world's 500 wealthiest people added $209 billion to their capital. Jeff Bezos topped the once unfathomable amount of $200 billion. Elon Musk becomes the fourth person in history to join the rarefied centibillionaire club, where Fortune's top $100 billion. All this was fueled by the crazy stock market rally. There hasn't been a V-shaped recovery with the economy, only with the stock market. This actually puts the stock market in a tenuous position, even with massive amounts of QE. The new Fed policy is infinite low rates and infinite money printing. The Fed will support this market no matter what happens. Alan Greenspan said at the time of the 2008 crash that unregulated option bets were 3 times larger than the world's real economy. And that led to the crash. I have no clue how large unregulated bets are compared to the real world's economy today. Welcome back to the Atlantis Report. You are here for your daily dose of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please take a second to smash that like button. And as you know, friends, I rely on your donations to keep this channel functional. As you know, it takes a crazy amount of research and time to bring you this content on a daily basis, so I hope you consider helping with whatever donation you can afford. Thank you. Stocks are soaring at the expense of the US dollar. Unlike December 1999, when US dollar was strong and gold weak, this time around stocks and gold are soaring together to make up for the weaker US dollar. If US dollar is weakening, then nothing else matters. The notion that central banks can keep equity price inflated over the long run despite a collapse in the economy is insane. The market forces will crush central banks like an ant in front of a steamroller. S&P earning will drop below $50 per share over the next 2 to 3 years. Even the Fed cannot support multiplies of 60 plus. There is not a long-term bull left. The world has already spent every penny that will be earned, $300 trillion of debt, over the next 25 to 30 years, leaving nothing for future consumption and investment. The laws of the universe, especially math, do apply the economics discipline. The inflation will continue permanently until currencies collapse. The market has been busy pricing in future inflation. On a side note, the action has many similarities to the Weimar Republic stock market back in the day. Hold on to some physical metals, I'd say. Become your own central bank. Since 2008, stock market speculation is the Fed's primary and only economic policy. Each market decline has been met with every more excessive stimulus to not only recover the decline but to push the markets to new highs. It used to be about jobs and inflation, but they gave up on those. We are in an economic free fall, and yet stocks are at new all-time record highs. How can the general public not see how broken this is? The S&P rises by 0.25 to 1.5% a day. Plus 4% is expected by Labor Day. By the election, we should see 5,000 to 5,200 or better. As long as the Fed or the government continues to print money, the stock market will continue to go up. The next stimulus checks could push the stock market up another 20%. The US tech stocks are now worth more than the entire European stock market, according to Bank of America. The European market was 4 times larger than US tech in 2007. We all know how overinflated this bubble is. Just have a look at the weekly chart of Tesla. It will pop at any moment. Most of these companies haven't had real technological innovation in over a decade. Comparing the small, incremental improvements of the past 20 years with something as transformational as, say, the invention of the transistor last century is laughable when you think about it. Radio, appliances, airplanes, and mass-produced autos were the technological marvels of the 1920s. That said, they didn't prevent the Great Depression. Guess we will take selfies of ourselves in the food lines with the Apple 12 on 5G. Even Warren Buffett is now warning that the stock market is overdue for a major correction. There is nothing great about this rally. This market has an expiry date in November regardless of results. Hedge and ride it for as long as it will go. 'Cause the market that comes after is going to look like 1929 to 1939, with World War possibilities included. China just hacked Tesla and tested a carrier-killer missile. When this thing falls, it's going to fall fast. Remember how Venezuela made all-time high stock records before the free fall? The US just has more room because of world reserve currency and the Fed. The inevitable rush to the door will be epic, history-making. The Fed's massive injection of money both by printing money and lowering of interest rates is the greatest theft of the wealth of all time. A wealth transfer in comparison matched perhaps only by the sacking of Rome by the Visigoths or the looting of the Incas by Pizarro. The middle class would care since it means their 401ks. If you thought these riots were bad, just wait until the entire boomer cadre realizes their retirement was a lie. Things are obviously not going to get better. 58 million unemployed with more huge layoffs coming, 100,000 businesses already closed permanently, 25% of malls will close, not counting the individual stores closing and those malls staying open. A presidential election that will probably end in martial law. Winter coming with millions expected to be evicted from their dwellings. And a flu season coming that will unite forces with the COVID-19. A perfect storm, indeed. Gun sales are up 72%. 40% of sales were conducted to purchasers who have never previously owned a firearm. Nearly 5 million Americans purchased a firearm for the very first time in 2020. However this ends, it won't be pretty. As long as there is a corrupt, elite ruling class in America, this will only get worse. History has proven time and time again that out-of-control government and bureaucracy leads to a country's destruction and fall. The Fed will QE us into civil war. I guess this is what occupies our minds most. How long can this go on? Can the Fed keep on printing for years? Can this paper game go on for decades more, just as it already has? I seriously doubt that. I definitely would not count on it. They've done a good job of stretching the limits of economic reality for the last 20 years or so, but look where it's gotten us. Zombie corporations everywhere, with wave after wave on the horizon. Unemployment only getting worse. It all hangs together on a pack of lies and fables. And you want to rest confident this shitshow can keep on going for decades? Really? We already see the US dollar index fall. There is an alternative that gets more prominence ever. Precious metals. The value of a currency depends on demand and supply. In the 1970s, the US dollar was so despised that the US Treasury had to borrow in Swiss francs. History tells us that paper money is a confidence trick. Once confidence goes, everything goes. There is one big issue that is almost never discussed: the secret money printing. Catherine Austin Fitts discovered that someone created $21 trillion between 1999 and 2015 and laundered them through government departments. It appears that the Fed is so corrupt that it prints money to enrich special interest groups. At the expense of the American worker who has to earn what others print for themselves. I consider this to be one of the most explosive political issues in the US today, and that is probably the reason why the mainstream media will not touch it. The economy is tethered to unbreakable laws of physical reality. The laws of economic reality can be suppressed, for a time, with debt as we are witnessing, but it's like pushing a fully inflated beach ball underwater. It requires enormous and ever-increasing amounts of constant calibrated effort to keep the economy artificially propped up. Totally unsustainable. Breaking point already passed, and it is all downhill from here regardless of what the markets do in response to massive debt liquidity creation by central banks. When things get better, we will stop the QE and return to normal rates. Bernanke wrote on July 2009 in the Wall Street Journal. It never happened. Central bankers know how to enter but never know how to exit. They paint themselves into a corner and ask for more paint. This was the Atlantis Report. Please like, share, leave me a comment, subscribe. And please take some time to subscribe to my backup channels, I do upload videos there too. You'll find the links in the description box. You will also find a PayPal link if you want to make a donation. Thank you wholeheartedly to all those of you who have already donated. Stay safe and healthy, friends.